I spent my entire life giving, sacrificing, and loving. But in the end, the people I trusted most, my son, Mike, and his wife, Karen, had only used me for what I could give. As I lay here, facing the end of my life, I can't help but think, I let them take everything from me, but not anymore. It's time for the world to see what happens when you push someone too far. Stick with me to hear my story. Don't forget to subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. I sit here now, my body betraying me more and more each day. At 80 years old, cancer has claimed what little is left of me. The doctors say I have about a year, maybe less. Every breath is harder than the last, and I can feel the weight of time pressing down on me. Yet, it's not the disease that weighs most heavily on my heart. It's the realization that everything I worked for, everything I sacrificed, is slipping away into the hands of people who never cared for me. Mike, my only child, is the cause of most of my pain. I raised him alone after his father passed away when Mike was just a boy. I did everything to give him the life I thought he deserved. I worked 2 jobs, spent sleepless nights worrying about his future, and made sure he had opportunities I never had. When his father died, I took on both roles, the mother and the father. I was his world, or at least I thought I was. But now, at the end of my life, I see what I should have seen all along. Mike doesn't see me at all. He never did. For years, I handed over control of my finances to him, trusting that he would look out for me in my old age. All my properties, the ones I worked so hard to own, are registered in his name. He's my family lawyer, or at least that's what I called him. I thought that was how things were supposed to be. Parents give, children take over. But I was wrong. Mike doesn't take care of me. He uses me. I live in a modest house, one that used to be filled with life and laughter. But now, it's just me, fighting the pain and the emptiness of knowing that the very people I gave everything to have turned their backs on me. I can feel it in the way they treat me. They only show up when they want something. A signature here, a check there. A few weeks ago, Mike was asking me to sign something, but I couldn't make out what it was. His eyes darted away when I questioned it. I know better now. Karen, his wife, is no better. She smiles sweetly when she visits, but behind that smile, there's something cold. She's been a master at pretending, at playing the role of the loving daughter-in-law, but I see through it now. She's just like him. They're both using me, and I've let it go on for too long. I always thought that when I reached this point, when I could no longer care for myself, the love of my family would carry me through. I thought Mike would be there, looking after me the way I once looked after him. But now I see the truth. They only care about what I can give them. And when I'm gone, they'll take everything. I have nothing left to give, nothing but what's left of my time. And now, with that time running out, I realize I've been living in a dream that I built for them, not for me. But I'm done being the victim. I've let them take from me for far too long. It's time for me to take control of my own fate, even if it's the last thing I do. I think back to how I spent this past Mother's Day. The whole day was meant to be a celebration, but Mike and Karen didn't come. I spent 3 days cooking, preparing everything, only for them to not even show up. When I tried to call Mike, he ignored me. Karen sent a cold text saying they were too busy and posting pictures from a resort with the hashtag, "Your perfect family." The hurt stung deep, but I wasn't surprised anymore. That's how they've always treated me. I'm sure they're counting on me dying quietly without putting up a fight. They want my assets, my house, everything I worked for. They think they can just wait me out, but they don't know what's coming. I'll show them. They won't get what they think they will. Not while I'm still breathing. I'm not going to die quietly. This is the end of the dream, but it's also the beginning of something else, something they'll never see coming. The air in the kitchen was thick with the smell of roasted chicken, freshly baked rolls, and the sweet scent of pies cooling on the counter. I spent 3 whole days preparing the meal for Mike and Karen. I wanted it to be perfect, just like I always did. Mother's Day was supposed to be special, a day for us to come together. After everything I'd done for them, I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd show some appreciation. I'd been waiting all week for this. It wasn't the first time I'd cooked for them, but this year, something inside me told me it would be different. Mike and Karen had been distant lately, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. But maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me. They had always come over for Mother's Day, bringing flowers, offering up their thanks, even if it felt forced sometimes. But it was always a tradition. The table was set, the candles lit, everything in its place. I imagined how it would feel, sitting across from them, hearing their laughter, feeling their warmth. But as the hours ticked by and the sun began to set, the quiet was almost deafening. No calls, no knocks at the door, nothing. I called Mike first, my hands trembling as I picked up the phone. It rang once, twice, and then, to my surprise, it went straight to voicemail. I waited, my heart sinking with each passing second. No, "Hey Mom, sorry we're running late." No, "I'll be there in a little while." Just silence. I didn't give up. I tried again, and again. I must have dialed that number 10 times, but still, nothing. My calls were ignored. Then, I tried Karen. At least she could tell me what was going on, maybe offer some excuse. But all I got was a short, curt message. "We're at a resort. Too busy to come. Perfect family." My stomach twisted. Perfect family. I almost choked on the irony of it. They were out having fun, posting pictures of themselves smiling, carefree, with no thought at all for the woman who had spent her life raising their son, taking care of them both. They were out there, living their best lives, while I sat here, in the home I worked so hard to build, eating dinner alone. The feast I had prepared felt like a cruel joke, the food now cold and untouched, sitting on the table like a reminder of just how little they cared. I placed the phone down, my fingers numb. The silence in the house felt unbearable, and the weight of the realization hit me harder than anything else ever had. It was clear. Mike and Karen had no intention of coming. Not today. Not ever, probably. I should have known. The way Mike had been pulling away for months, the way Karen barely bothered to make eye contact when she did visit. They didn't care. They never did. I wasn't important to them anymore. The tears came, unbidden, though I tried to swallow them down. I didn't want to cry over them. I didn't want to let them see how much their indifference hurt me. But it did, and it stung. I looked at the untouched meal in front of me and let out a bitter laugh. What had I been expecting? A Mother's Day miracle? Maybe. But the truth was, I had given so much to them. And for what? They had no gratitude, no respect. I felt foolish. I had spent days preparing this meal, pouring my heart into it, thinking they'd finally show me the love I so desperately craved. And yet, they were off somewhere, flaunting their fake happiness, pretending to be the picture-perfect family. The hurt quickly turned to anger. I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I wasn't going to let them ignore me and think they could keep taking from me, manipulating me, using me. Not anymore. No more pretending. No more silence. I stood up from the table, the chair scraping against the floor. As I stared at the empty plates, I made a vow to myself. This was the last time they would treat me like this. From now on, I would take control. I wasn't going to be discarded. This was my turning point. The moment I realized they weren't worth another ounce of my energy. They would never respect me if I continued to allow them to treat me like this. I turned on my heel, walking away from the table, leaving the cold food behind. The anger was building inside me, a fire I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't just going to let them go on with their lives, taking everything from me. I had nothing left to lose, and that made me more dangerous than I had ever been before. They thought they could ignore me, manipulate me, use me, but they were wrong. I was done being the good mother, the good wife, the good person. From this moment forward, I was going to be the villain in their story, the one who finally took back what was mine, and they would never see me coming. The anger that started bubbling on Mother's Day didn't go away. It lingered, uncomfortable, gripping my throat with the bitter taste of betrayal. The disregard Mike and Karen showed me tore at me. For years, I had given everything to them, as a mother and as a woman. And this was how they repaid me. A simple text, a cold rejection, a Mother's Day tossed aside. I needed answers. I needed to understand what was happening, where this hurt was coming from. And then, something inside me, a force I didn't know I still had, pushed me to do what I should have done all along. Seek the truth. What I found felt like a punch to the stomach. I had always trusted Mike to handle my finances. Ever since my husband died, I had relied on him to take care of everything. I didn't know what was really going on behind the scenes. I didn't know he was taking advantage of my trust. As I began sifting through old papers, one thing caught my eye. It was a set of documents, old property records, legal forms, and when I saw them, everything became clear. Mike had sold 4 of my properties without my permission. The worst part? He'd forged my signature on every single document. My own son had stolen from me. I sat back, stunned. My hands were shaking as I stared at the papers in front of me, the ink on those signatures mocking me. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted him? The betrayal cut deeper than anything I could have imagined. But it didn't stop there. As I dug deeper, I found something even worse. Karen, my daughter-in-law, the one I had always tried to be kind to, the one I had welcomed into my home. She knew. She knew everything. She had been in on it, helping Mike every step of the way. My heart sank, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. The very people I had spent my life loving, the ones I trusted most, had been using me for their own gain, lying to me, stealing from me. The shock of it all was suffocating. I felt like I was drowning in their deceit. The people I had raised, the people I had nurtured, were no better than strangers who only saw me as a means to an end. I had been so foolish. I had spent my life giving, sacrificing, loving, and they had been taking from me. Everything I had worked for, everything I had built, was slipping through my fingers, and I hadn't even known it. But now I knew. Now the truth was out, and I wasn't going to stand idly by. This betrayal, this final act of manipulation, was the tipping point. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I would make them regret this. The anger was no longer just a feeling. It was a plan for revenge. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I knew this. They had no idea what was coming for them. This was just the beginning. I sit here, in the dark, the weight of the truth pressing down on me. All the pain I've felt over the years, all those sleepless nights, all the decisions I sacrificed, the opportunities I let slip away, hit me hard now. Mike and Karen, they've always been my world. I treated them with love, with patience, with the devotion of someone who believes in family. But the truth I found in my hands is something else. I looked at those forged signatures, those papers that Mike and Karen never thought I'd find, and an epiphany hit me like a lightning bolt. For years, I was the good mom, the good wife, the good woman. But why? Where did that get me? What did I gain from it? Life taught me to be generous, to give without expecting anything in return. But now, looking at everything that's been stolen from me, I ask myself, who am I to them? They don't see me as a mother, not as a person. They see me as a source of profit, a convenience to be manipulated to the last drop. I looked at myself in the mirror tonight, and for the first time, I saw the woman I really am. Not the woman who always tried to please them. Not the woman who gave, who sacrificed. I saw a tired woman, but also a strong one. Tired of being underestimated. Tired of being seen as weak. The pain was deep. Yes, but the anger was liberating. I spent 50 years being the good one, being the foundation for everyone. And what did I get in return? Lies, betrayal, falseness. They thought they could use me until the end, but I'm not the woman I used to be. I'm not the woman who kept quiet, who accepted everything in the name of love. Now, the woman I see reflected in that mirror is tired of being a victim. She's tired of being treated as if she has no power. And worst of all, I finally realize the time I have left is precious, but it's also all I need to change this situation. I am no longer a woman at their mercy. I am a woman with a plan, with a strength that even Mike and Karen can't comprehend. It doesn't matter how much time I have left. What matters is what I do with it. And I know exactly what I'm going to do. I will no longer be the victim. I will be the villain. It's funny how easy it is to fool people when they think you're weak. Mike and Karen think they know me. They think I'm slipping, that my mind is going. But what they don't know is that I've been playing them. Every move, every word, every tiny gesture. They don't see me anymore. They see the frail old woman I've let them believe I am. I've spent the past few weeks pretending that I can't remember things, pretending that I'm confused about my own finances. When Mike calls, I fumble with my words, like I can't recall simple details. Karen looks at me with that condescending smile, like she's so pleased with herself for taking care of me. She doesn't know how much I'm enjoying this. I watch their every move. I watch how Mike's posture softens when he thinks I'm too far gone to notice, how Karen speaks more slowly to me, as if I'm a child, as if I can't understand. The look of relief in their eyes when they think they've got me right where they want me. It's sickening, really. But I'm no fool. I'm still sharp. I've always been sharp. The only thing that's changed is that now I'm using their own assumptions against them. They think I'm losing my mind. Fine. Let them think that. Let them believe I'm an easy target. But behind my vacant stare and confused ramblings, I'm watching everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every move they make. Mike thinks I don't notice him slipping things into my account, the shady transactions, the documents he insists I sign when he's sure I'm too out of it to remember. Karen, of course, is complicit in all of it. She's been running interference for him, smoothing things over, making sure no one suspects a thing. She checks in on me daily, but I see the way her eyes dart to the door when she's waiting for Mike to pick her up, as if she can't get out of here fast enough. They think they've got me figured out. They think I'm just a shell of the woman I used to be. But they couldn't be more wrong. I'm not losing my mind. I'm just pretending. Every time I slip up on purpose, every time I look a little too lost, I'm setting the stage. They think they're pulling the strings, but they don't realize that I'm the one holding the knife. I'm the one with the plan. They'll keep underestimating me, keep thinking I'm harmless, and the moment they least expect it, I'll have everything I need to take them down, piece by piece. I've always been good at playing the game. And now, I'm playing it better than I ever have before. I'll make them regret ever thinking I was weak. The anger I feel now isn't just the sharp, immediate kind. It's cold and calculated. It's a steady burn that simmers beneath the surface, growing stronger with every passing day. Every time I pretend to forget something, every time I play weak, it's all part of something bigger. I've learned how to sit back and watch, how to wait for the right moment. I'm not in a hurry, not anymore. The pieces are falling into place slowly, but when they do, they won't be able to stop it. I've hired private investigators. They don't know what I'm doing, of course, but they've been invaluable. They've helped me dig into Mike's financial records, tracing every transaction, every shady deal. And with their help, I've discovered more than I ever could have on my own. Mike isn't just taking from me. He's been funneling money into accounts I never authorized, buying properties, moving assets into his name, all while I sat here, pretending I didn't know what was going on. But now I know. I know exactly what he's been doing, and more importantly, I know how he's been doing it. And I'm collecting every piece of evidence I can, every paper trail, every detail that'll bring him down. But it's not just Mike. Karen is just as guilty. She's been helping him, all along, playing the role of the dutiful wife, smiling in my face, but pulling the strings behind the scenes. What makes me sick is that she knew about everything. The properties Mike had sold, the money he was siphoning off, she knew. Then something else comes to light that takes me completely by surprise. Karen is pregnant. She's carrying Mike's child, and she's been using it as leverage. From what I've gathered, she plans to secure everything I've worked for, before the baby is even born. She thinks the baby will tie her to Mike and make her untouchable. She believes in her deluded, manipulative way that once the baby comes, she'll have it all. The house, the money, the power. It's the final straw. I can already feel the rage building inside me. Not only has she been part of this whole charade, but now she's planning to take everything from me in the most cruel way possible. She doesn't just want to rob me of my possessions. She wants to rob me of my legacy, my home, my name, my everything. But she doesn't know who she's dealing with. Neither of them do. I'm smarter than they think. They've underestimated me, and I'm going to make sure they pay for that mistake. The wheels are in motion, and I'm ready to play my final card. I've been waiting for the right time. And now, with Karen's pregnancy adding another layer to their scheme, it's clear to me. It's not just about taking back what's mine. It's about making them understand the full extent of their betrayal. It's about ensuring that when I'm gone, whenever that may be, my legacy will be mine. Not Mike's, not Karen's, mine. I've already started putting my plan in place. Every move I make, every piece of evidence I collect is like a piece of the puzzle falling into place. They think they're in control. They think they can take everything from me while I sit here, playing the fool. But they're wrong. I won't give them the satisfaction. I won't let them win. It's only a matter of time now. Time until the moment I finally show them who they're really dealing with. The final move is coming, and it will be devastating. For them. I will make sure of it. They think I'm weak. They think they're controlling me, that they can manipulate me however they please. And, for a while, I've let them believe that. Suddenly, the strong woman I used to be disappeared. Now, I'm just the frail old lady, the forgetful mother who can barely remember her own name. They want me to be like this, so I'll let them think they've won. They underestimate me, and that's exactly what I'm going to use against them. The past few weeks have been nothing but one big act. I've been pretending that I'm losing my mind, pretending that I can't remember anything. When Mike calls, I fumble over my words, acting as if I'm unable to grasp the simplest things. Karen looks at me with that smug, caring smile, like she's so proud of herself for looking after me. Little do they know, I'm enjoying every second of it. I watch every move they make. I watch how Mike relaxes when he thinks I've gone too far to notice, how Karen speaks to me slowly, as if I'm a child, as though I can't comprehend. The look of relief in their eyes when they think they have me exactly where they want me. It sickens me, really. But I'm no fool. I've always been sharp. I've always been alert. The only thing that's changed is that now I'm using their own assumptions against them. They think I'm losing my mind? Fine. Let them believe that. Let them think I'm an easy target. But behind my vacant stare and confused ramblings, I'm watching everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every move they make. Mike thinks I don't notice him slipping things into my account, the shady transactions, the documents he insists I sign when he's sure I'm too out of it to remember. Karen, of course, is complicit in all of it. She's been running interference for him, smoothing things over, making sure no one suspects a thing. She checks in on me daily, but I see the way her eyes dart to the door when she's waiting for Mike to pick her up, as if she can't get out of here fast enough. They think they've got me figured out. They think I'm just a shell of the woman I used to be. But they couldn't be more wrong. I'm not losing my mind. I'm pretending. Every time I slip up on purpose, every time I act a little too lost, I'm setting the stage. They think they're pulling the strings, but they don't realize that I'm the one holding the knife. I'm the one with the plan. They'll keep underestimating me, keep thinking I'm harmless, and the moment they least expect it, I'll have everything I need to take them down, piece by piece. I've always been good at playing the game, and now I'm playing it better than I ever have before. I'll make them regret ever thinking I was weak. It's strange how people let their guard down when they think they're in control. Karen, especially, never thought I was paying attention. She thought I was too weak, too far gone to notice what she was really up to. But she underestimated me in the worst way. It was late one evening when it happened. Mike wasn't home, and Karen had come by to check on me, her usual act of pretending to be the doting daughter-in-law. She never really cared, of course. She was just playing her part. But tonight, she was a little too comfortable, a little too eager to talk. I'd been waiting for this moment. For weeks, I'd been setting the stage, pretending to be fragile, pretending to forget things, while quietly collecting every scrap of evidence I could. I knew she'd slip up eventually, and sure enough, tonight, she did. She started talking, and I let her. At first, it was just small talk, the kind of thing I'd let her ramble on about so she didn't suspect anything. But then, as the conversation drifted, she got careless. She mentioned how everything will be easier once you're gone, how she and Mike had a plan in place, and that's when it happened. She didn't know it, but she had just sealed her own fate. I stood in the doorway, pretending to listen as she spoke. The camera I had hidden in the room was recording every word, every breath she took, every little detail was being captured. And then she said it, the thing I needed to hear. I've been thinking, Karen, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. It'll be easier for both of us if she just doesn't make it. I mean, she's already so frail, right? If we can just speed things along, no one will suspect a thing. Once she's gone, Mike will inherit everything. The house, the money, we'll have everything we need. My blood ran cold as I listened. My hands, clenched into fists, shook with a mixture of rage and satisfaction. This was the moment I had been waiting for. This confession, this treacherous, disgusting plan of hers was all I needed. She had just given me everything I needed to destroy her. As soon as she finished speaking, I calmly reached over and turned off the camera. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The proof was there, in the recording, and it would be more than enough to bring both her and Mike to their knees. They thought they had me. They thought they could manipulate me, control me. But now the tables were turned, and I was the one who would hold the power. I could feel the weight of the moment, the final piece of the puzzle falling into place. Karen had just dug her own grave. Not only had she exposed herself, but she had also handed me the key to her destruction. She had no idea what was coming next. I took a deep breath, feeling the calm settle over me. This was it. The plan I had been quietly building for so long was now in motion. I was no longer a victim, no longer someone they could push around. I had the evidence, I had the power, and soon they would have nothing left. I began preparing my next move. It was time to finish this, time to make sure Mike and Karen paid for every single thing they had done to me. The final blow was coming, and it would be devastating. Karen thinks she's winning. She sees me as a frail woman, weak and incapable of fighting back. She believes I'm on the brink of death, that the end is near and inevitable. What she doesn't know is that, while she's plotting my demise, I'm more aware than I've ever been. This is all a game. And Karen, with her arrogance and greed, has fallen straight into my trap. She thinks she has control, that she's finally getting what she's always wanted. My possessions, my legacy. She believes she's speeding up my death, one placebo at a time, thinking that will hasten my end. But she's completely wrong. When she started switching my medications for placebos, I knew exactly what she was doing. I had suspected something was off with my health, and when I felt the changes, I realized the truth. I wasn't losing my mind. I wasn't getting weaker. She was just trying to make me think I was. But I'm sharper than ever. Every moment, every fake smile she gives me, every time she looks at me with that cold, calculating stare, she doesn't know that I'm playing her, just as I've been playing Mike and her all along. I let her believe she's winning. I play the role of the confused, forgetful old woman. I make her think she's outsmarted me. She smiles every time I seem too weak to notice her manipulation. But what she doesn't know is that while she thinks she's pushing me closer to my end, I'm making my move. Behind her back, I'm transferring everything. I've already set up a secret foundation to hold all of my assets. Everything is in place. Every property, every penny, all of it secured, protected from their greedy hands. Mike and Karen won't get a dime. Not a single cent will go to them. I'm not just taking back control. I'm ensuring they never have it. They will never inherit what they think is rightfully theirs. It's a masterstroke, the final move in a game they never saw coming. Karen's scheme is unraveling. She thinks she's speeding up my death, but in reality, she's helping me secure my legacy. She doesn't know it yet, but the moment she realizes the truth, will be too late. I'm no longer the woman they can manipulate. I'm not the victim anymore. I am the one in control, and soon, they will face the consequences of underestimating me. The house was quiet, too quiet, as I prepared for what I knew would be the final meeting. I had invited Mike and Karen over for dinner, under the pretense of making peace and resolving our differences. They had no idea what was coming. They thought they were going to sit down for a nice meal, maybe win me over one last time with their lies and their smiles. But in reality, I knew it was the last time I'd ever have to look at them. I set the table carefully, just as I always had. Crystal glasses, polished silverware, and the finest china I had. I even made their favorite dishes, the ones I knew they loved to pretend they cared about. Chicken, potatoes, the fresh bread I'd spent hours making. Everything perfect, as if it were a normal family gathering. But the difference was, this time, the smiles wouldn't be real. When they arrived, I greeted them with a warm smile, masking the storm that raged inside of me. I could feel the tension building as they walked in, Karen's eyes scanning the room, Mike's expression guarded. But they both seemed relieved that I was back to normal, acting like nothing had happened, as if we were going to pretend everything was fine. "Thanks for inviting us, Marjorie," Mike said, sitting down at the table, his tone polite, almost forced. I sat across from them, my eyes studying them carefully, the pieces of the puzzle now firmly in place. The lies, the betrayal, the manipulation, it all led to this moment. They didn't know it, but tonight would be their undoing. We ate in silence for a while. I could feel their discomfort, like they both knew something was off, but they were too wrapped up in their own games to realize they were already caught in mine. After a few minutes, Mike cleared his throat. "Mom, there's some paperwork I need you to sign. It's just a formality regarding the inheritance. You've had the time to look it over, right?" I nodded, pretending to be confused as I always did. "Of course, Mike," I said, my voice soft, as if I were barely keeping up with the conversation. "I'm sorry. I've been a bit forgetful lately." Mike, relieved by my apparent frailty, handed me the papers. Karen glanced at him, then at me, a look of false concern flashing across her face. She had no idea what I was about to do. As I took the papers, I made a small motion with my hand. "You know," I said, "I've been thinking a lot lately. About everything." I paused, letting the tension build, watching them both closely. "And I think it's time for the truth to come out." Suddenly, without warning, I reached for the remote on the table and pressed a button. The TV came to life, and a video I had prepared earlier began to play. On the screen was Karen, sitting in my living room, speaking as if I weren't there, revealing everything she and Mike had been doing. Her voice echoed through the room as she talked about how they planned to get rid of me, how they were going to take everything from me once I was dead, and how she was going to speed up the process to secure their inheritance. The words hit them like a freight train. Karen's face turned pale as she realized what was happening, her eyes darting to Mike, whose expression morphed from confusion to horror. "What the hell is this?" Mike stammered, standing up, but his voice was shaking now. I didn't respond immediately. I just let the video play, letting it sink in. I could see Karen squirming in her seat, but there was no way out for them now. The truth was in front of them, and it couldn't be erased. Just as the video reached its conclusion, I heard the sound of sirens outside. The police, whom I had called earlier in secret, arrived at my door. The front door opened, and 2 officers stepped inside, their eyes scanning the room before landing on Mike and Karen. "You're both under arrest for fraud, theft, and conspiracy to commit murder," one of the officers announced, his voice firm and authoritative. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Mike and Karen stood frozen, the weight of their actions crashing down on them. Their plan, their lies, their manipulation, all of it had led to this moment. They had underestimated me, and now they were going to pay for it. As the officers handcuffed them and began leading them out of the house, I stayed seated, watching them go. There was no satisfaction in it, no joy. It was just the end of something that had to happen. They had destroyed any chance of redemption when they chose greed over love, when they chose betrayal over trust. As the door slammed shut behind them, I allowed myself a small breath of relief. It was done. They wouldn't get a single thing. They wouldn't get away with what they'd done to me. And for the first time in my life, I finally felt free. I leaned back in my chair, a sense of calm settling over me. I had won, and they would never take anything from me again. The room felt heavier now, the air thick with the weight of what was about to happen. Mike and Karen stood there, frozen in disbelief as they absorbed the full impact of the truth I had just laid before them. They had no idea how deep they had dug themselves, how thoroughly I had been watching, how thoroughly I had been planning. The video, the documents, the recordings, it was all there, irrefutable, undeniable. I had watched their faces change as the pieces of their lies crumbled, each second of the video confirming everything they had tried so desperately to hide. Their guilt was written all over their faces, and yet they tried. They tried to justify their actions, to make excuses for everything they had done. But their words fell flat. "Mom," Mike stammered, his voice shaking. "You don't understand. This isn't what it looks like. We were just trying to—" "Trying to what?" I cut him off, my voice cold, as steady as I could make it. "Trying to steal everything I've worked for? Trying to poison me and make it look like an accident? Trying to erase me from your life just so you could inherit my fortune? That's what you were trying to do, Mike. Don't insult me by pretending otherwise." His face paled, and Karen's expression shifted to one of sheer panic. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She was speechless, the weight of her actions suffocating her. I turned to the officers, who had been standing silently in the background, waiting for the right moment. "Officers, you know what to do," I said simply. Without hesitation, they moved toward Mike and Karen. The sound of handcuffs clicking shut echoed in the room. But it was no longer the sound of fear. It was the sound of justice. Mike struggled against the officer's grip, but it was no use. "This isn't fair! You can't do this!" he yelled. But I saw the panic in his eyes, the realization that there was no escape now. "I'll make sure you both get what's coming to you," I replied, my voice filled with a calm finality. "You're going to pay for everything you've done to me." Karen, looking absolutely defeated, glared at me one last time. "You'll regret this," she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. "You think you've won? But you haven't. You don't know what you're doing." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "Oh, Karen, you think you're the victim here? You think I'm the one who's wrong? You've been using me, manipulating me for years, and now you want to act like I've done something to you?" The officers led them out of the house, and I stood there, motionless for a moment. It was over. The two people who had plotted against me for so long were finally facing the consequences. I felt a strange calmness wash over me as the sound of their footsteps faded away. I took a deep breath and turned to the papers on the table. With a steady hand, I signed the final documents. The foundation was set up, the will was rewritten, and my assets, everything I had worked for in my life, would go to the causes I cared about. Not to Mike, not to Karen. They had no claim on anything I had. As I signed the final piece, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The betrayal, the hurt, it was all gone now. In its place was a sense of peace. I had finally taken back control of my life. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. My money, my legacy, would go to people who truly needed it, those who would use it for good, not for their own greed. Mike and Karen could never touch it. And with that, I knew I had made the right decision. I had secured my legacy, made sure they would never benefit from my sacrifices. In the end, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the properties or the wealth. It was about taking back my dignity. I looked around the room at the emptiness left behind and allowed myself a small smile. I had won, and they had lost. They thought they'd won. They thought they could push me to the edge, make me crumble under their manipulations. Mike and Karen both believed I was a fragile, defeated woman, easy to dispose of once they had used me up. But what they failed to realize was that I was still here, still standing, still breathing, and still capable of fighting back. When they left, shackled by the police and taken away to face the consequences of their actions, I felt a sense of relief flood through me. But it wasn't just about the fact that they were gone. It was about what came after, the part of my life that was finally mine again, after years of silence, of being taken advantage of. The sickness, the cancer, the illness that had taken so much from me didn't take me completely. It wasn't going to. What Mike and Karen hadn't counted on was that I wasn't going to die in their timeline. I wasn't going to let them rob me of that. After their arrest, I took a long, hard look at myself in the mirror. The woman who stared back was no longer the beaten-down version they'd created, the one who had spent years in their shadow, playing the role of the obedient mother, the helpless victim. She was strong. She was defiant. She had fought back and won. I felt stronger than I had in years. Physically, I was still frail. My body had been ravaged by disease, but emotionally, mentally, I was more alive than ever. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, my power. And with that, I decided something important. I wasn't going to die quietly. I wasn't going to let my last days be spent in the sorrow of what had been stolen from me. Instead, I would live out the rest of my time exactly as I had always wanted to, free, at peace, and in control of my own destiny. I took the time to visit the places I had always dreamed of seeing. I went to the garden I had longed to grow, the one I'd put off for years because I was too busy taking care of everyone else. I spent days reading books I had never gotten around to, savoring each moment. I reconnected with old friends, those who had stuck by me all along, people who cared for me, not for what I could give them. And I set up a new routine, one that was entirely mine. I had a sense of calm I'd never had before. The future no longer felt like a weight pressing down on me. Instead, it felt like a gift, one I would cherish to the fullest. The foundation was in place. My assets were in safe hands, the hands of the people who would use them for good. Mike and Karen would never get a cent, and that, in itself, was enough. It was a small victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. In the end, what mattered wasn't the money or the possessions. What mattered was that I had lived for others for so long, sacrificing my own desires and needs for the sake of my family. I had been willing to give up everything for them, but I wasn't willing to let them take it all from me, not after everything they'd done. Now, as the days passed by, I realized that the most important thing I had reclaimed was myself, my peace, my strength, my freedom. I had been a mother, a wife, a daughter, a friend, but I had also been a person, deserving of respect and love. And in the end, I had given myself that. I took another look out the window, watching the world outside, knowing that I was finally free to live on my own terms. My legacy would remain intact, my spirit untouched by the cruelty of those who tried to break me. And in the quiet of that moment, as I sat in my chair, surrounded by the peace I had created, I knew one thing for sure. I had won. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.